Hold up. My bad. All right. Welcome. Sorry about that. Audio technical difficulties. This is livestream 26. We are getting down. We have about 22 submissions going on right now. We're going to go over mix down, song design, song arrangement, how you worked your serum, and basically how wide, how loud your song is. You want to see everything. If you want, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. We are going to get down in the future and join the Discord. We have submissions open just for a little bit. You can submit before they get closed. First off, first submission. We got error code coming in with work in progress. What do I call this? Check it out. Cover art. Pretty cool. Get it done. Let's get it done. All right, cool. That's error code coming in with what do I call this? Now, I have to say, this is all right. We have a couple of problems here. One huge problem right away is that there's no snare in the drop. Now, the snare, like the clap or the snare that is on the 3, is extremely important because that's what we headbang to. This type of music, it's like 2-step. So kick, snare, and it's just missing here for like the first. So there's like not really anything to dance to here. It's really just sounds. The whole point of making music is so that we have rhythm and movement. And if we don't have the snare hitting on the 3, we literally kill the rhythm completely. We have to make sure we have that snare there. The snare comes in over here. That's way too late. The sound design is pretty good, but the sound design that you do played for so long in both drops, there's not really different basses and have to have your basses talk to one another and go back and forth. And really, it's just the same basses and same sustains being played for 15 bars. Our ears get basically tired of the same frequencies being just blasted at us if we go back and forth. The only breaks we have in these sections are these little laser fills, but that's just not enough. We need a lot more dynamic shifts going on in this for it to be movable and danceable. And on top of that, this is coming in at -7 LUFS, so it's not that loud, but it sounds pretty loud. Like there's a lot of harsh frequencies being played at loud levels. You want to make sure you use EQ very well on these sustains and main bass leads just to eliminate problem frequencies. If you get the Fletcher-Munson curve EQ setting, you can bring down those problem frequencies easily. So do that. And yeah, just work on the rhythm, work on the flow, on the song arrangement, and then get it a little bit louder. -7 really isn't loud enough for this. You want it to at least be at like -5. It'll be a good range for this. But otherwise, not too bad, not too bad. Up next, we got Scums. He submitted 2, so we're using the second one here, Enigma ID. Done.
She's in my she's in my she's in my bitches.
Hey, man. Good shit, dude. That's what I like. That's what I like to hear, honestly. You guys can tell, like, this is a whole different type of mixdown that we're hearing. And this is the type of mixdown that we hear from professional artists, right? Super clean highs, very nice lows. Everything seems like it has space, you know? It seems like everything's not crowded and everything's bright. And then most importantly, when we look at the loudness levels, we are peaking at -3 LUFS, which is very loud. but it doesn't sound ear piercing and you don't want to turn it down. So that's a really good sign. And then, of course, it's wide enough and it still has mono information too. So it's just really good mix down. So from there, it's really easy to get creative with your sound design and make something awesome. The first drop, amazing. In this drop, everything feels very well put. Like I mentioned, there's space available. You can tell everything has its place. When you get to the second drop, though, we start to lose control of the space and things seem more erratic. And it doesn't seem like there's as much flow compared to the first drop. Lots of things on the left and right, lots of reverb and space being. Just want to make sure you like have everything nice and balanced. I think one of the most important things though in this is that it's not really a DJable, you know, such an amazing hard track like this needs to be ready for the club. And what I mean is when we break from the drop and we go into this breakdown, we're basically going from super high energy to almost nothing. There's no rhythm. There's no like chords giving you emotion. It's more just like cinematic, atmospheric soundscapes. This is cool, but if we were DJing in the club and we wanted to transition to this song, this really isn't much of a, can't really transition very much, you know? If there's drums and stuff that we can go on beat, that we can transition with another track, it's going to help this a lot more. Plus, it'll make it easier for DJs to play, right? If DJs want to play our song in the club, it's going to be a banger. So just work on that. Work on making more energetic intros, breakdowns, outros to match the high energy of these drops. Then it'll just be perfection. Very good. Sounded awesome. Good energy. Up next, we got Sawtooth Caverns by Basic Shape. Let's get it done.
Deep beneath the Earth's surface, waveforms are born under intense pressure. We mine and search the Earth's winding caves in order to harvest the rich bass frequencies. There is one cave where the waves slice, tear, and cut. This place is known as
Sawtooth Caverns. Okay, very cool. That's by Basic Shape. Now, that was okay, right? That was all right. It wasn't really anything special. It's pretty long. It was pretty hard to listen to for that length because there wasn't much energy in this. There's a lot of problems with song arrangement and call and response. For example, in this first drop, you can hear the bass like nah, 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 nah. The bass is moving up and down notes and it's acting very melodic, but it's not really acting as a bass, and there's not really any sub to match these basses. So it feels very low intensity, very low energy. On top of that, there's not call and response. So we really get just thrown in to the melodic bass lead, and there's not movement going on between like the bass leads. Because of that, it's not really danceable. It's really just sounds being played. And on top of that, the sounds are being played for a very long time. So after a while, they get old. And then when we get to like these sections, since there wasn't much energy in the drop and we go here, this becomes very slow. Super low energy. And then at this point, you really just want to like move on, right? If this is dance music, the whole point of this is to make people dance or to make people feel like they're tripping, psychedelic feelings. You have to work on those things. Also, it's not loud enough. We're pulling at like -8 LUFS. So you could definitely get a little bit louder. And then in sections like this, same goes. So you want to do more call and response. You want to make sure that your basses talk to each other rather than just play at random sections. And then during the build, like we literally get thrown. The bass just gets thrown at us. There's a reason why EDM uses pre-drops, because we build up the tension, and then for that split second, it's silent, and you get thrown into the loudness. That creates that psychedelic effect. But here you don't do that. It just goes super loud and straight to super loud again. If you don't have dynamics in the song, especially in the build-up and the critical section of tension and release, it's going to make a big difference and going to kill the energy. Remember, this music's all energy. It's dance music, so you got to work on these things. But these are easy fixes. Definitely do it. Hit us up in the Discord if you need help with that stuff too. We got you. Up next, we have Inferior. Although, by the way, yours was broken. Resubmit, please. We have Inferior by 1 sec. Let's get it.
In a society flooded with ignorance, a counteraction must occur. Too long we have identified ourselves as the only species capable of conscious thought. This is no longer. We must break down our taught conditioning and build a new state of consciousness. A state of consciousness based
Cool. That was Inferior by 1sec. I gotta say, this is pretty unique. I haven't really heard a song arrangement like this before, and there's a lot of things going on here. So at the beginning, we have some really cool psychedelic, like philosopher type stuff going on, talking about consciousness. It sets a really cool mood. I really like this. Very cinematic, dark, psychedelic. We're missing a sub though to really match that low re space that's being played. So don't use the sub in that reese. Like, take out the bass and then create your own separate sub to make it fat. Play with this. This idea is pretty cool here. You know, I keep talking about dynamic shifts going from loud to soft. This is a really cool technique, right?
Pass or suffer.
This is stuff that happens a lot in like interludes or in music that you would create before a set, like to play for an intro, stuff like that. This is cool. This is creative. This is artistic. But if you're going to dramatically change the dynamics like this, you have to really make sure that you do everything right coming up next. So in this section, you have the idea right by getting loud and creating the energy and tension here. But the way you did it here was just wrong because there's not any build-up drums to match with this like build bass. So basically, we just have a wall of sound being played that's undanceable. And then we get to this little section that kind of works as a pre-drop, and then we just get thrown into the drop. You guys need to remember that the whole point of tension and release is like building the build-up. So we're expecting something. And then while we're expecting something, release it and give us the drop. That's the whole point of this. We can't just have walls of sound being played. This isn't DJable or danceable. You have to make sure you have build drums so that like it's building and building and rising and rising. You go crazy as soon as this drop hits. Since that wasn't done, this drop doesn't have nearly as much energy as it should. And if you listen, there's problems with song arrangement. Really, basses are just being played randomly. There's not call and response. There has to be movement between sounds. There needs to be structure between phrases. And if you have just random presets or random sounds being played throughout the drop, it's going to not sound cohesive. You need to keep those things in mind. You have good sound design over here. Like this is dope. If you were able to work these in an organized fashion in your drop with these sustains and stuff, you would have something here. You can also work these melodic things with the sustains instead of having them be separate. Because this also needs call and response. It's really just a wall of sound once again. For 4 phrases, and it becomes very tiring on the ear. Yeah, those are things you want to work on. Things that'll make it better. Ooh, up next, we got Scarpy. Coming in hot with violence. I've returned me getting my Ableton set up, getting back on track. Can't wait to get my workflow back together. This is the first decently quality track I made on my new laptop. Hopefully your new laptop is an M1, boy, or M2.
Violence, 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 no but a violence, 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 no but a violence, 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 no but a violence, violence. Listen, you best keep walking, push me again, but see much talking, no but a violence, 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 no but a violence, 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 violence. See much talking, all but a violence, 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 all but a violence, 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 all but a
That's violence. By Scarpy. Cool. Pretty decent mix down. You know what I'm saying? Cool sound design, good song arrangement. Everything makes sense. The thing is, though, it feels very empty in here. And I remember earlier I was saying, like, when you're having a lot of basses and stuff, it could become crowded very easily. So we want to make sure we find that perfect balance. You don't want to be crowded. You don't want to be too empty. You want to really fill up your frequency spectrum and your stereo image as best as possible. In this case, we have a lot of open space for what could be potential rhythms or even potential sustains in the background. We really want to fill up this extra empty space because it doesn't sound like there's enough. You can add more rhythm to make it more danceable, and that would help a lot. And what I mean is, like, duplicate that main bass, create a different version. Right now, that bass is playing at a high frequency range. So if this new bass that you have played at like the mid frequency range, you could fill out that space that way. That's what we're really doing, filling out the lows, mids, and highs, and then making sure that things are in the middle and also on the sides. And yeah, like I said, don't crowd things. Too many things can't be on the sides. Too many things can't be in the middle. Too many things can't be in the lows, mids, or highs. You find balance. But as soon as you do that and fill out all this, it's going to sound very professional. Your mix down is good. I'm glad to hear it. Good job. Up next, we have Siege coming in with no intro. Siege, no intro? Wait, who is this? Ah, it is him. It's Basics Sonaire with Siege, no intro, God of War, artwork. Let's just get it done.
Hello, please leave a message after the tone.
Cool. Hey, that was pretty cool, man. I must say, there was a lot of energy in that. Mixdown wasn't perfect. You know, there's a lot of work you need to do on the mixdown. What I mean by that is like how the low frequencies and the mids and the highs sit in the field of frequencies, and also how you're controlling your reverb and the space, because it sounds like everything is too wide and there's too much space. You can have some things be in the middle. You can have some things be more dry rather than wet. The main bass that's running in the middle, like in this section, you can feel it's in the middle, but it sounds like kind of wet, you know, not dry. You want to just work on things like that to make it sound full. You have good flow here. That's a Murata flow right there. That's very hard. This would get festivals going crazy. But the thing is like the sub is almost lost in all the mids and highs. You really need to work on bussing out your frequencies, separating all your frequencies so that you can clean things up. It's really going to be the only way, because you're making such loud, heavy music. can't just crowd everything in one group or crowd everything in the master. You have to start separating frequencies so that the lows can be nice, fat, and loud to complement the loud mid basses and the highs. Good job. I'm impressed, man. I'm impressed with the flow. I like to hear it. The flow right here is definitely not as good as this. Just because it sounds so much more crowded, a lot messy, a lot more erratic. But when you get here, it sounds 10 times more professional with the flow. So I like that. Ooh, cool energy. Getting it done. Up next, we have Le Reptile submitting what he has is Poltergeist. This is the VIP.
Pull up in this bitch. Bitch.
Okay, that was Poltergeist with Le Reptile. All right, I gotta say, there are a couple things you need to fix in here. One of the main things that is just hurting my soul, really, is that clap. It's so loud and it's taking up so much space of the mix, and it's so loud and it's so wide. Just like so aggressive, man. It's like, dude, take a chill with that clap, man. Take one chill with that clap. Balance your clap. Make sure it's not too much reverb. And also make sure that you don't have too much reverb and delay just in general. In audio engineering school, what I learned is when you use reverb and delay, we use them in buses. We put the reverb at 100% on a bus, and then we send the signal to the reverb. We don't just put the reverb on top of it because that'll just drown it in reverb or delay. We have to parallel process it and use busing that we keep the dry signal while blending in the wet signal. Okay? This is what you have to do with your bass sound, because it sounds like the effects are just taking control rather than the bass. Lots of it's just taking up the stereo field too much. It sounds like there's too much space with the reverb, and these things can be finely tuned. So I'd work on that for sure, and then just replace the vocals. You know, these splice vocals have been used 1,200,000,000,000, 1.5 billion times. So if you want to be unique, use some new vocals, record your own, or use the AI tools that we have now. So good and free. You just make vocals at any time you want and pitch them down. Use post processing to make them their own, to make them your own. Okay. Lastly, second drop, we have a mud explosion. Extremely crowded mix, lots of mud buildup. The mud frequencies are from 100 to 400 hertz. The frequencies you need to tame, turn down, or cut out in some of the tracks so that you can tame the mud explosion. It's not a mud adventure. We want to have a fun, clean time. Keep that white shirt clean. Next, we have Arlix coming in with Sound Boy. Sound Boy. This is the cover art. I believe this is a meme of 1,000 truths. That's appropriate. Let's get it.
Sound wide. 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 Sound wide.
All right, that's cool. That's Arlix coming in with Sound Boy. That was some cool rhythm, man, I must say. And usually when I'm listening to rhythm, right away I'm just like, oh, damn, because I'm usually in for a song that's just playing the same beat all the time. But luckily, I was not like that this time. Basically, your phrases keep changing, and the changes you make between phrases are good variations because they sound similar, but they sound different enough. It makes you want to keep dancing, and it honestly makes you want to hear what you have in store for the next phrase after that. I think that's really important. Having someone kind of like await the next, because you want to just have people keep dancing, right? They're excited for the next phrase, and you're able to do this in the song. And I'm really happy about that. Mix down's not terrible, it's pretty clean. There are some space issues, like in the background, there are some sounds taking up extra space that shouldn't be. It's not a huge issue, but it could be tamed a little bit better. Otherwise, sub and high frequencies and mid sound good. In this drop, you start really messing with the pitch, pitching up, pitching down. And a lot of the decisions you made don't sound danceable. The only thing that sounds relatively nice is this pitch down. That sounds clean. It matches. Whenever we're pitching up and down, it has to match with the rest of the song. It's very sensitive. So it's pretty easy to accidentally get off track when you're pitching in the wrong ways. So just make sure that you focus on flow, song arrangement in these sections to make it as danceable as this first drop. Because this was significantly better than this one. Otherwise, good job with the rhythms. I like the rhythms. Up next, we got Ruby coming in with Yas. Yas.
Shorty wet, she gon' be down, man, the fuck we get. Checks on checks, next on next. Play my cards and I set that deck. Pass that test, pass that test. But too short to be feeling all stressed. Blessed on blessed, yes on yes, on yes, on yes, on yes, on yes. Yes on yes, on yes, on yes.
All right, we're going to have to stop this one here because we have a major issue in this song. We are missing our sub. Uh-oh. Missing the sub. I don't know what's going on. Uh-oh. Where is my sub today? So, basically, if we're missing the sub in bass music, then we have no more bass music. Bass music is gone, and now we're sad. We're crying because we don't have that sub. The whole point of this bass music is so that we can feel these low frequencies in our chest. Creates an effect, creates an illusion of awesomeness. And it makes you feel good, right? So when we come into the drop here, we're having a lot of mid basses and high basses play, but there's no sub frequency. It's almost like you EQ them out on accident or something, or maybe they're supposed to be there and they're just not there. Kind of what it sounds like. I have to fix this. There has to be sub that matches these basses. I can hear like a distorted bass being played in the background, so it's probably just like low cut or something. We want to fix that right away. Also, drop timing. So you have a buildup that's going correct timing, but then when we get to the actual drop, you kind of extend it an extra like 2 or 4 bars, and it doesn't drop where it's supposed to. If it doesn't drop where it's supposed to, then we don't dance as hard as we should. Also, in these sections, it's too quiet. We're at like -20 LUFS. So it's very, very quiet. we need to get at least like -12, negative 11 lefts by using compressors like this to just pull up and bring out the sound. Do that. Then lastly, in your sections where you have basses playing, basses are just playing constantly. There's not call and response. As soon as that downbeat hits, it should go like bom, 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 stop, and then go back to another call, bom, 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 and keep going back and forth with call and response that way, rather than just letting the bass play the whole time. It's not danceable. It will get tiring on our ears. I want to keep all of that in mind. Okay, cool. Up next, we have Moon submitting Take Me Back. He says, intro is filler. I know it's terrible. Well, let's see.
Moon.
Alright, so that's Moon coming in with Take Me Back. I gotta say, this is kind of weird, honestly, because the main bass lead that's being played right here, like, it's just playing constantly, and it's like it doesn't even sound good or hard or anything. It's just like a noise, like a sound that's being played. Sounds very, very basic, very dry, very simple. And I don't know, if you're going to play something for the whole drop, it needs to at least sound like cool or heavy, psychedelic. These are the things that make people want to come back and listen to it. So get that main bass lead. Make sure it's not playing throughout the whole time. Make sure there's call and response. It's going back and forth. Start messing with the tone so that you could have different variations of it, maybe in the first phrase, then have it maybe go down the second phrase. You're using a lot of weird, like, cartoon sound effects and stuff. This is cool, but remember, you're using these in fills. So if we're going from like a loud sound to a cartoon sound and back to a loud sound, we need a dramatic dynamic shift. If you just have like a regular sounds being played and some regular cartoon sound, the transition really isn't there. If you had like a heavier drop with lots of bass, lots of distortion, and then we switched to like this empty space with a cartoon sound and then went back to the distortion, it would sound a lot heavier and sound a lot more creative. Right now, it kind of just sounds like you're just throwing in random samples with random sounds, and you don't want that. You need this to be dance music. So remember, call and response. This is the drop. You just throw us into the basses. There's not a call. It should be like boom, 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 or boom, bum, bum, bum. There's so many different calls you can make. You have to do that with each phrase. You know, so this is like a phrase, another one, another one. Each phrase should have multiple calls and responses so that we can go back and forth. If you don't have that, then none of this is danceable, and we're just hearing sounds. And if the sounds aren't cool, then you're just going to go into the wrong direction. Work on that, you'll be good to go. Get on your way. Up next, we have Wags with Don't Leave.
Stuck in a circle, caught in the loop, running around the things I said to you, spitting them out just like a child. I'm trying to grow up as fast as I can. You already told me you needed a real man, yeah. And I try to be that for you. Stop wasting all your precious time on me. I'm wishing I could call you mine. We'll see your cash and checks that I wrote, fooling me with those eyes. On my word, falling on the dead, falling on the dead, yeah. On my word, falling on the dead, falling on the dead, yeah. When my hurt, is there nothing left? Is there nothing left? On my word, falling on the dead, falling on the dead, yeah. Stuck in a circle, caught in a loop, running on my own.
All right, for sure. That was Wags coming in with Don't Leave. I must say, there's a lot of problems with this. I really like your idea. I really like that you're going for something emotional and vibey and blur. You know, I love that. Okay. But I want you to understand that for many, many years, people have been making songs that sound exactly like this. We had a whole future bass movement where they were making songs like this. So we kind of have like a basis to look to. There's been a foundation set. And what they've done with this future based music is they've proven that these drops can have super high energy by using extreme layering with like chords and saws and lows. And that is the focus of this music. In the drop, the drums are so much louder than all the chords and main melodic elements that it just seems very, very odd. Doesn't feel right. On top of that, we're getting blasted with sound and there's no fills. When there are fills, they're loud fills, so we're not having dynamic shifts from loud to quiet, which is extremely important in this type of music. You want to work on that. Visually, we can see that this drop is only 16 bars, and then our intro is like 64 bars. Who knows, 50 bars. So, like that just shouldn't be like that. We are not listening to the song for the vocals, right? We're listening for the drop. The vocals are complementing the energy of the drop and setting a mood for it. And if you're going to have just regular vocals like this, we need to spice it up and use different melodic techniques and rhythms so that it doesn't sound like all the songs we've heard before. You know, as soon as someone plays this, they're like, oh, I've heard like 35 songs that sound just like this. They're going to skip it. You have to kind of surprise people now. We're in 2023, so it's just how it is, unfortunately. As soon as you do that, it's going to make a significant difference. I could tell you have the vibes in your soul and you know what'll connect to people. So, like, keep that and don't let go of it. It'll help you forever. Just make sure you get your song arrangement, song structure, and mix down on point. Good. Up next, we have Jackson Snippets coming out with Ake version 2. Or is it Ake? The world may never know.
Worthless dead fools.
Okay, cool. So, this is Jackson Snippets. I'm liking that we're having some heavy dubstep coming out of you. This is nice to see. Thing is, though, it's like we have some huge problems with the mix. It's super quiet. Like -8.5. It's just so quiet. You know, we need to be minimum at like -6. Minimum. And then you can go all the way as loud to -3. You can easily get to -3 while sounding loud and clean. So please work on the mix. It's very important that the energy levels and loudness levels match to this genre of music. In the buildups and stuff, you're using a lot of swells that become very loud and harsh on the ear. So just make sure that you control the white noise and risers and swells and take out those problems. Like right here. This is very loud, very harsh on the ears. And then during these sections with the guitar, like it doesn't make sense to have slow dubstep drums because that's not the energy of this guitar. You can have loud, distorted guitar. You want to have the super fast, double bass drums to match with it. There's a reason why drummers use those type of drums with the electric guitars. The energy, match the energy with the drums. And please, for heaven's sake, fix your the energy of this is ruined from this clap. Sounds very weird. Find a nice clap snare combo that is in pitch and matches what's going on with the drum. Otherwise, that'll be it there. I do like the sound design a lot. My type of gig right there. Get it bright, get it clean. Get you right. Up next, we have Kakarot coming in with hold up, wait a minute. Treasure glass. Yeah, dead space. I got this one, dude. Sorry, I skipped you. We're getting it right now. I promise it's not complex, bro. Please. Oh, LOLs. Good. We have no time for complex over here. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's why you already submitted this. Don't submit the same file. Right. downloading it. If you guys are going to resubmit a song, make a new file so that it'll let me download it.
Processing log. Supervisor Second Engineer Dallas reporting. This will be my last report. I've seen what they do to the bodies, what they become. I can't let that happen to me. At least if I don't have any limbs, I won't be able to kill anyone when I'm infected. Please tell Dawn and the kids that I love them.
Check this. Drop it.
All right, cool. That was Dead Space by Kakarot. This is all right. You know, it's you're getting it to -3 LUFS, but you're not getting it to -3 LUFS in a good way. We're breaking. When we start to zoom out, you can see the stereo. You can visually see that our waveform starts to brick. This is signs of clipping, signs of overcompression, and hear it. It sounds very crowded, and it sounds like a lot of frequencies are clashing with each other in the frequency spectrum and also in the stereo image. For example, when the drop comes, you have a bass lead that's playing in the middle, but then you also have a sustain that's playing in the middle and on the sides. So like they're both playing at the same time with each other. You have to clear up space. One will be in the middle, one will be on the sides. And then you kind of use EQ and amplitude and volume to mix things in. It's really important you do that because there's a lot of frequency clashing in all the drops, and a lot of just clashing in the stereo image too. The intro really doesn't have much energy. There's literally just drums and vocal. And this is really important that you fix because the whole point of music is their emotion or rhythm, dance. If you don't have chords being played right here, there's no emotion. And if you don't have like cool rhythm that makes us dance in a different way, it's not going to do anything for us. So we're just literally going to want to skip the song off of something like this. Important that you catch someone's attention right away. We don't have long attention spans like we used to where we listen to albums and stuff. People just skip through songs and skip to the drop. We don't want them to skip to the drop, so catch their attention right away with chords or dope rhythm. This half-step rhythm of
Dallas reporting.
has been being played since like 1980s, so definitely old for our ears.
I can't let that happen to me.
Make sure that you have stuff to complement those vocals. All right. Ooh. Up next, we have Shattered Glass by C8O. Let's go. All right, we're done. That's Shattered Glass by C8O. Honestly, man, this is hard to listen to because it doesn't necessarily sound like everything's perfectly in key. It really sounds like there's a lot of dissonant frequencies. Even like right here. With the vocal like in the background, it sounds very screechy and it's taking up the whole mix, and you're not able to listen to anything else except that. And to put this into perspective, that Vox sound sounds like it's like screeching into different pitches that are not in key. It sounds like it's right for a little bit, but then all of a sudden it like gets out of pitch, comes back, and it doesn't sound pleasant. Perfect harmony, perfect pitch, and when you want to veer off these rules, veer off of music theory, you have to do it in a certain way that makes sense. You can't just randomly have things going out of key or pitching up and down in certain ways. We have to make sure we understand it's sensitive. In this section, you can tell that the only thing in the middle is the sub and everything else is spread on the sides. We need things to be on the sides, but we also really need there to be sounds in the middle too. The sub is taking all the low frequencies in the middle, but we still have all the mids and highs to fill up in the middle. You're not doing that here. Because of that, it feels very empty, very low energy, and it doesn't seem full at all. You want to fix those things right away. you do pretty good with the mix down and how things are arranged. But then when we get to the end here, lots of sounds start being played and everything starts clashing with each other. It doesn't seem organized. You want to keep these things in mind and make sure that you're looking at it. And also, these build drums are basically, you could just delete them because they're not doing anything. The whole point of these drums is to build up tension and then release to the drop. But if your timing is wrong and you're randomly throwing in triplets and you're just randomly throwing in timings that just don't make sense, then when we get to the drop, it's not going to feel like anything even happened over here. And that's what it feels like. You have to make sure you have build-up drums that actually build tension, or just take them out completely. Same thing here. The build-up drums happen like twice, like repeat it twice. They don't have any use. They're not doing anything. And then when we get here, we like delay the drop. So then the timing becomes off. Then as soon as the drop happens, it just feels weird because we weren't positioned in a place where that drop is a perfect release. Really important that we do that in dance music. All right. Next, we have Nemesis coming in with I don't know, have a name for this yet. I don't know, have a name for this yet. Quite dapper. What the fade out, bro? You gonna do it like that? No. Shoot. That's dope. Man, I really like this rap vibe that you're bringing here. Like drill. Rap, drill shit. When this is put in the intro, it's gonna sound sick. It's very mono though, you know, like everything's in the middle. So I'd really start to add instruments that take up the side of the stereo image. You could feel full. It'll sound professional. Sounds really dope. During the drop, you have good flow, good rhythm. The sound design is there too. But the thing is the mix doesn't sound clean. It's very loud. And when I turn it up, I'm not necessarily blowing my ears. The frequencies don't sound too harsh. It could be cleaned a little. But what really needs to be taken care of is like the space and space control. A lot of these basses probably have reverb, and these reverbs are stacking on top of each other, creating extra space that we don't need. On top of that, the reverb creates and introduces new low frequencies that we don't want. And if those low reverb or space frequencies start to build up, it creates extra mud in the mix that is not always easy to tell, but it's there. You want to make sure you take it out, clear up some space, make sure that not everything's being sent to the master. It really sounds like everything's crowded and nothing has enough space. Bust out your frequencies and separate them and then send them to your master, so that everything can be organized and well separated. Otherwise, we're just going to have, kind of sounds like a crowded sound. Everything's all squished together, and it shouldn't. It should sound open and have space, while still being fucking mental. But yeah, those are easy fixes. I think if you just keep chilling in the chord, we can help you with that stuff. We'll figure out how to get Fruity Loops bussing and stuff. That shouldn't be that hard. Like, cool. Next, got Crack by Snasta. Let's go. Wait, we gotta hear this little extra spundookie. Okay, let's go. Okay. That was Crack by Snasta. Boy, we got some heavy rhythm up in here. What we got, man? That's crazy. We're coming in at -2 LUFS, coming in hot off the skillet. Sound design sounds nice. It doesn't sound crowded. The only thing that sounds wrong with the mix is it sounds like there's distortion on the side. I would really like to take care of that. As soon as that's taken care of, I think the mix will sound very, very clean. The reverb space that you have, it's well maintained. I really like what you did with the space here, and the different variations between phrases is awesome. I like it. The only thing I really heard that sounded very low quality was this build-up. During the build-up, you have two different rhythms being played by two different instruments, which creates a clash in what to dance to, right? We don't know what rhythm to dance to because there's two being played. They need to either complement each other or be going at the same time so that we can get a perfect rhythm and perfect tension right before this drop. I do like the release of this drop, man. Did well on the timing, well on the arrangement. Getting better. I'd like to see it. It's cool. Maybe just do more here to capture people's attention. Like, these are cool sounds, but if you had a vocal or like some crazy resampling thing, just do something that will keep people's attention all the way up until this build-up. I think he'll be good to go. Good job. Dope. Up next, we have Limitless by JWubs. All right, cool. So, let's get it done.
Bad boy sound and this a bad boy sound. Bad boy sound and this a bad boy sound. Jump and sound and me say sound like clown. Bad boy sound and me say him run the town. Ready for it, me say we ready for it. Ready for it because of your problem. Ready for it, me say we ready for it. Wow, tell you.
Come again.
Bad boy sound and this a bad boy sound. Bad boy sound and this a bad boy sound. Jump and sound and this a sound like clown. Bad boy sound and this a him run the town.
So that is JWubs with Limitless. I think you have some pretty cool vibes in the intro, man. Everything was pretty decent until we got to the drop. When we get to the drop, there are some issues here that makes it less danceable. You know, as soon as the drop starts, we have this sound being played. And it goes low pitch, and then you bring it up high pitch. But it's the same exact sound. And the sound plays throughout the whole drop. This doesn't really count as a call. It needs to be, this downbeat needs to be significantly different than the response so that our ears can tell it's a shift. Because they're the same, basically, frequencies, even though this is a lower pitch, it still sounds very similar, and our ears really can't tell the difference. This little section too isn't really the best transition from this call to this response. So you could work on these things to make it more danceable. It's also very quiet. You're at -8.5 LUFS maximum, and the sub sounds very weak. Make sure you get that sub. Add extra harmonics like a saturator. Just add saturation so that it can become fatter, and compression. And then you can match that fat sub with your basses. You want to layer those. It sounds like it's one patch. The rah, 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 rah. Layer that with mini patches. And when you make your layers, you're going to have a high frequencies, mid frequencies, low frequencies. You combine all your frequencies to create one big, awesome sound. Do that. Go. Up next, we have the dog, Tang, submitting some hot fire. Tang Out Part 2. Out of this. Someone's this, bro?
Which is
You're locked in the Tang. Stay drippy.
Hey. Nice, dude. Well, that was a banger. Very minimal things that need to be fixed in this, if that. So, this is pretty crazy. I'm really happy to hear that you were able to make this work. You know, we swell into the drop. As soon as we hit the drop, like we're introduced with an immediate bass phase. Immediate. The sub is so commanding throughout this whole track. It's rolling. And if you guys see, there's very large dynamic shifts. So we go from super loud, quiet, back to loud. Without these dynamic shifts, it would not be even, it wouldn't be as good. It would be harsh on the ears. But because of these shifts, it helps so much. The sub is very commanding. The sub is almost the star of the show. And then these bass leads are kind of complementing the sub. And they're like dancing around the stereo field, going from left to right, back to middle. And you can tell he has really good control of the stereo image and his frequencies. Some things that could be fixed, though, are the loudness of this lead in this section. It sounds a lot louder than the balance that you have in the previous drop and what comes after. So just make sure you fix the mix on that lead. And then the snare in this section. So like when we transition from the drop to like this breakdown section, it doesn't become as loud. So the snare does not have to be as high energy or as loud. You can even switch up the snare to be something different to match the energy and the loudness levels in this section. And that'll be a cool, easy transition from that to this, back to that. I think it's cool. Very nice. Towards the end, it does kind of start to sound a little bit repetitive. So maybe try to work on maybe adding some new basses or some new rhythms, but not that bad, dude. This is actually thick. Love it, Tang. Coming in with the hot fire. The skillet is burning. Let's get it done. Up next, we have Mipsy. He's submitting a track that is called and titled Fuck With Me Test, Halfway Done.
I'm Howard K. Smith.
I'm Harry Reasoner in New York. These are tonight's headlines. Rail service across the nation is crippled by the continuing strike of the Railway Clerks Union. President Nixon meets with newsmen in his first nationally televised news conference since late July. Defense counsel says that Lieutenant Calley had orders from higher up to kill every living thing at My Lai. And Secretary of State Rogers pledges that American troops will not be sent back into Cambodia. Howard?
I didn't know I could feel like that.
Okay, Mipsy, I see you coming in. I do like this sample that you did at the beginning.
I'm Howard K.
This is really dope. I like this. I like the idea. When we get to this build-up, though, you can visually see that this looks louder than the drop. Okay? Right away, that's an issue. I can tell when the drop comes, it sounds quieter. It doesn't sound as intense. Especially here, if we're building tension that's loud and then we release it to something quieter, it just loses energy rather than creates it. During this section, you have like a sustained bass playing. It sounds very wide, but it doesn't sound full. You really want to layer these more so we can add more volume and really make it brighter. Because it sounds like it's kind of contained, like lost. We really want to oomfen it up, get a little brighter.
I didn't know I could feel.
And it's really the same flow throughout this whole thing. So start to switch up flow, add an auto pan maybe, use an LFO to this sustain to create some new motion and movement. That would create some awesome effects. So yeah, try things like that. Be on your way. Next, we have Bellatrix with Secondus. Let's get it done. Awesome. That was Bellatrix coming in with Secondus. Nice. Pretty good. You're learning a lot. Right away, we get introduced to some sick, dark intro vibes. And I really like the soundscape that you built here. Visually, we can see when we start to zoom out, it starts to look a little bit bricked. We really need to make sure we're not over compressing things and make sure that we're bussing everything and sending our frequencies just so that we can avoid any bricking. When you hear the kick, it sounds significantly louder than all the other sounds. And we really need to match the bass leads to get as loud as the kick and the sub. We can start to layer the guns more and really start to focus on filling out the highs, mids, and lows of the gun while then introducing the sub separately so we can get a full sound. And then we can think about the stereo image after that. So in this little section, you can kind of hear how cool it's supposed to sound. Like this is a full sound compared to this. It almost sounds like we're missing frequencies here. So this section is the only section in the drop where it sounds like it's full. In all the other sections, it sounds like we're missing frequencies. We're going to have to look into this and make sure that we have everything balanced in the mix. In this breakdown, we lose the energy. We're going high energy. We go back to the intro. We kind of want to have fast drums play with this in addition so that we can keep high energy leading up to the next build. When we get to the second drop, we can easily switch that main bass lead. It's like playing the same as the first drop. So we can easily make it go like lower in pitch or change the tone that it sounds different from the first drop. That'll make a big difference in how the whole song sounds together. And here, the guns still sound not layered enough, so we'll just make sure that the guns are layered better. But yeah, easy fixes. You're coming in at -3 lefts, and you're wide enough, so we definitely have the loudness and wideness, which is good. Easy fixes. Good job. You're getting better really fast. Super sick. Up next, we have Altau coming in with number 1. I'm getting hungry up in here. Hey. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, that was pretty cool. We got some vibes in from How Tao with submission number 1. Okay, cool. So basically, we are hitting -3 LUFS. We're getting loud. We're getting wide. These are things that I like to see. We're setting nice soundscapes. You know? Very cool. Very nice. You could add some vocals in here to really spice up the mix and take that extra step to amazingness and universal expansion. But I digress. In the drop here, the main bass lead kind of sounds like it's being lost in the mix. It almost sounds like that sustain in the back that is louder than the main bass lead, which is a problem. We really want that main bass lead to be the star of the show. Start to layer it, start to make sure that you're being aware of what's being played in the middle and what's being played on the sides, because that's going to make a huge difference. Do that. In the second drop, you can tell that it sounds a lot more frequencies are being used correctly. The energy in this and the mix in this sounds completely different. Sounds almost empty. So work on that. Kind of understand how that extra melodic element on top is filling out the frequencies that are missing in the first drop. These are the things you want to do so that they can sound more professional, keep the energy high. And then in sections like this, it's dope. I like that. Alright, cool. Otherwise, though, this is pretty good, man. Just keep on working, keep on adding more theme and variation. You'll be making amazing tracks all the time. Okay. Let's go ahead. Looks like we're getting on to the last track. This is Magu with Muerte Type Beat. Let's get it done. nice. Very nice. That's Magu coming in with the Merte type beat. I love to hear it. I love to see it. Now, the brass that you're using, good choice, right? I really love how you pitch the brass down in between the phrases. It's super sick. The thing is the brass plays for a very long time. The intro is very long. We really need to add orchestral elements. If you listen to Muerte's intros, there's a lot of orchestral elements like synths, old school 80s synths, brasses, different types of brasses, strings, violins, violas, strings ensembles. You combine all these things so that you can create more movement and progression in this intro so that it doesn't sound long. It sounds very long. You can go orchestral and make it dope. During this section, it sounds very empty. You could have like literal string chords being played and it would add so much emotion, so much energy. And you really want to fill up this open space and match the energy that you're about to bring with this drop. The way that you transition dynamically, like it's quiet and then just then we get that brass, which is like the main theme that we heard. It's like a perfect transition to the drop. Me personally, I'm looking to make my drops this like perfect intro. It's very good release, and I applaud you on that. It could definitely be mixed a little bit better, but dude, that's how you do it. You have a good flow all the way to here. You want to add more support. You did change up the rhythm of the bass, which I'm happy you did because it really needed change in this phrase, but it sounds empty, and you can add more supporting basses in the background so that it kind of progresses through the rest of the drop, right? We're just constantly progressing through the drop. And when you get to this last section, just switch it up completely to make it sound different than all of this because we heard it for so long already. And I think that'd be perfect, man. Good job. Sounds good. Nice mix. Nice and loud. Ooh. You guys came in with some heat today. I'm happy to hear it. Thank you guys for watching. Join the Discord. You can hang out with everyone. The voice channels are where we actually produce live and answer questions also. Don't forget to like this video. Comment if you liked it. Don't forget about next week. Submit yours. Have a good day. Stay fresh. Keep it real. All day. Later.